really believe that the catalyst for growth and transformation is when mothers and women own their experiences, process them thoroughly, do the inner work of healing, and then share their stories with other mothers. And this has been the intention of my podcast from the very outset. So today, in this solo episode and in a number of follow-up episodes, I will share my own motherhood story, my matrescence journey, and all that unfolded during the last 24 years. If you're resonating with the content, make sure you listen to the follow-up episodes as part of this series. I will be sharing honestly and sometimes vulnerably, so please be aware that the content is not designed to offend any mother or judge any other woman for her choices, her decisions, and her unique experiences. I am merely recounting my own lived experiences, and some of them were experienced at times when that moment was yet to be fulfilled. And so it really is very subjective. In addition, I will speak to some of the lessons that I've learned along the way and feel like are valuable to share as well. So here it goes. I'm going to take a deep breath. I have always wanted to be a mother. As a small child, my play would be to act out and role model mothers, teachers, nurturers. And as I grew, I also became fascinated by the pregnant body and indeed the birthing process. From as young as 9 or 10, I would start to wonder exactly how that was done. It fascinated me. And from very young, I gravitated towards friendships of mothers of young families, and I genuinely loved being with them. I saw them as role models and held them in esteem. In fact, one of my closest friends to this day was one of those mothers who I connected with, became part of the family as young as 11 years of age. I married young and made a conscious decision to start a family at 23 years of age. And for me, this felt right. It also felt very natural and instinctual. If I found out that I was unable to have a family, I think I would have felt really devastated and unsure actually of what I would have done with that information. Something that I recognize now is that there is an external and internal expectation that because we are female, that we should just simply want to be a mother. It should be a given. And that B, it should be something that we can do and that we want to and that we find natural and instinctive. But I now know that this is not always the case. Perhaps being female for the majority of women makes it possible for them physiologically to carry and birth a child, but that doesn't mean that they necessarily desire that. And as we know, no child arrives with a manual. I definitely didn't realize just how long and arduous this role of being a mother would be. And in perfect honesty, quite thankless at times, a thankless role. In saying this, I was all in, emotionally invested, heavily committed to the needs of my child, always striving to do my best, and of course buying into the fable that we can and definitely should strive to be a perfect mother, and all that goes with that, which is something that I would definitely expand on in one of the other episodes because it is a passionate topic of mine. I loved being pregnant. It felt so at home in my pregnant body. I truly felt beautiful, capable, and embodied the whole process of gestating. I relished every kick, every internal movement, every hiccup, the expansion of my body, and felt very content at that time in my own skin. Regrettably, my healthcare provider was not so supportive of my inner joy and my outer glow. And I have very negative memories of his lack of care. In fact, I would call it bully care. And some examples of this are that I had gained 12 kilos during my entire pregnancy, and he told me that I was obese. I asked him about the possibility of trying for a water birth. He told me my baby would drown. At birth, I had a 3rd-degree perineal tear. He came in for the latter part of the stitching and gestured that my baby must have had a piece of glass in its hand. When I went for my follow-up appointment after birth, he frightened me unnecessarily by saying that I would definitely need to wear a colostomy bag, and I didn't. Now, remember that this is my personal share, so by no means am I criticizing the obstetric world. I have the utmost respect for the majority of obstetricians who are professionals in this area and are working very hard to provide mother-centered care and doing an amazing job. I'm merely sharing this part of my experience because it is part of my experience. And so birth being a significant part of our motherhood journey, in fact, in many ways, it's where motherhood begins. So I feel that it's important to include this content because birth does matter. And this was my experience. But here is my first lesson. Firstly, that this kind of behavior from your healthcare provider, no matter who it is not okay. And you're always perfectly in your right to change your healthcare provider, no matter what stage of pregnancy you're in. So even if you are in the latter half of your 3rd trimester and you are not feeling confident and comfortable with your healthcare provider, you are allowed to change your mind. My firstborn son was born in 2000, and that was after a rapid and ferocious exit into the world, a 3.5-hour labor. Despite the negativity of my OB, who wasn't there for any part of my labor and birth, probably just as well, the experience of birthing my son was truly incredible. I had intuitively invited 2 other women support people through my labor, in addition to my husband, and one of my support people, one of my friends, had brought along her 12-year-old daughter who skipped school that day but definitely had an educational experience. And with this, I share my second lesson. Having a circle of those that you trust around you during labor and birth is often so lacking, but so necessary. Inviting women into this space, especially those that have been there before you in the birthing space, and ones that you feel super safe and comfortable around and know you well, is so worthwhile. Becoming a mother to me felt like falling in love. Although I was rather sore and damaged after birth, I was ready for this. I wanted this, and I think in honesty, I can say I truly felt fulfilled in that moment that I birthed my child. In spite of that, postpartum was hard. I had a very unsettled baby who wouldn't sleep for probably more than 40 minutes, contact napping on me at a time, and for little more than 3 hours in total at night. And this went on for months and months. My husband was working 6 days a week. There was no family living close by. The exhaustion I felt was indescribable. And yet I didn't know any different. There was little known at the time about birth doulas, never mind postpartum doulas. They were unheard of. So I got on with the role that I'd signed up to. And instead of asking for help, which I don't think would have come readily anyway, I got completely focused and made a silent agreement with myself that this was my responsibility and my responsibility alone, and that I would get on with it and be the best mother I could be. In fact, I reasoned if I just got perfect and was able to have all the balls going in the air at one time, everything would just fall into place, right? I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Is that something in some way or another that you've reasoned before, that the outcome of your family's needs is fully dependent on how good of a job that you're doing as a mother? This is something we'll talk more about in the next episode. Until then, take care, Mama. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that it offered something helpful to your own mothering experience. If you are a pregnant woman or know someone who is, head over to my website to receive your free copy of the postpartum checklist and contact list. And if you'd like to be better prepared for your postpartum, both practically and mentally, purchase the Peaceful Postpartum ebook, a 52-page interactive guide on what you need to know and what matters most in postpartum. And so that we can get these conversations out to more mothers, I'd be grateful if you could like, share, and review this podcast, and we'll see you next time.